First contact gone wrong. High Admiral Vexthor of the Galactic Confederation stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dawn, his iridescent scales reflecting the dim light of distant stars. The massive vessel, over 3 kilometers long, led a fleet of 50 warships toward the newly discovered civilization in the Sol system. Intelligence suggested these humans had barely mastered interplanetary travel. This would be a routine first contact and integration into the Confederation. How wrong they were. The first sign that something was amiss came when their long-range sensors detected no orbital defenses around Earth. No stations, no defense platforms, not even basic early warning systems. It seemed impossible for a spacefaring race to leave their homeworld so vulnerable. High Admiral, his sensor officer, a crystalline being named Zix, chimed. We're detecting unusual gravitational fluctuations throughout the system. Vexthor dismissed the concern with a wave of his scaled hand. Natural phenomena. This system has an unusually high number of asteroids and debris fields. Proceed with the contact protocol. The Confederation fleet moved deeper into the system, their formation perfect, their ships gleaming with power and authority. They had performed this ceremony countless times before. Arrive in force, demonstrate their overwhelming technological superiority, and offer the native species a choice: join the Confederation or face isolation. As they passed Mars, the humans finally responded. A single vessel emerged from behind the red planet's largest moon, Phobos. It was small, barely 200 meters in length, with a design that seemed almost primitive by Confederation standards. A diplomatic vessel, Vexthor assumed. Receiving transmission, his communications officer announced. Audio only. How quaint. A calm, almost amused human voice filled the bridge. Confederation vessels. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Chimera. You are entering restricted space. Please state your intentions. Vexthor straightened his ceremonial robes and activated the holographic projector, ensuring his impressive form would be visible to the primitive humans. I am High Admiral Vexthor of the Galactic Confederation. We come to offer Earth membership in our great alliance of species. Your civilization has been monitored since you first achieved spaceflight. We believe you are ready to join the galactic community. There was a pause, then Captain Chen replied, still audio only. That's a generous offer, Admiral. However, we must decline. Please reverse course and leave the system. Laughter rippled across the Eternal Dawn's bridge. The audacity of these primitives. Vexthor's scales darkened with amusement. Captain Chen, perhaps you don't understand. We are not making a request. The Confederation has decided. Resistance would be unfortunate. I was afraid you'd say that, Chen responded, and now there was something else in her voice. Not fear, but anticipation. Admiral, I should inform you that you've already lost 12 ships. Vexthor spun toward his tactical display. Impossible. But there it was. 12 vessels at the rear of his formation had simply vanished. No explosions, no debris, no distress calls. They were just gone. Before he could process this, the human ship began to change. Its hull seemed to ripple like water, panels sliding away to reveal weapon systems far more advanced than anything intelligence had suggested possible. But more shocking was what their sensors now detected. The ship was generating power readings that should have been impossible for its size. Last chance. Admiral, Chen's voice was steel now. The Sol system is under the protection of the Terran Defense Force. Leave, or we will remove you. Vexthor's training took over. All ships, battle formations, launch fighters, show these primitives the might off. He never finished the order. Space itself seemed to tear open around his fleet. Massive vessels emerged from nowhere, their hulls black as the void, their designs unlike anything the Confederation had encountered in its 1,000 years of existence. They were human ships, but they were impossible. Ships that size couldn't move that fast, couldn't appear from nowhere, couldn't. The Eternal Dawn's sensors screamed as they detected energy readings that broke all known laws of physics. The human vessels weren't using standard weapons. They were somehow manipulating the fundamental forces of reality itself. Admiral, Chen's voice was almost gentle now. Your shields are based on graviton deflection technology, effective against most weapons, but utterly useless against what we're about to do. Please, don't make us demonstrate why. Vexthor stood frozen, watching as more human ships emerged from their impossible hiding places. His mighty fleet was surrounded, outgunned, and facing technology that shouldn't exist. In that moment, he realized that everything the Confederation thought they knew about humanity was wrong. They hadn't found a primitive civilization ripe for integration. They had woken a sleeping giant. Stand down all weapons, he ordered, his voice hoarse. Begin emergency temporal beacon transmission to the Confederation. Message begins. First contact protocol with Sol system has failed. Critical intelligence error. Humanity is not what we thought. Repeat, humanity is not what we thought. The Ghost Fleet. 3 days after the failed first contact, representatives from the Galactic Confederation sat in stunned silence aboard the Chimera. The human vessel's interior defied their expectations. It was neither utilitarian nor primitive, but rather a seamless blend of advanced technology and artistic beauty. Surfaces that appeared to be simple metal would occasionally ripple with streams of data, and gravity shifted subtly as they walked, suggesting levels of environmental control far beyond Confederation capabilities. High Admiral Vexthor, now a diplomatic envoy rather than a conqueror, watched as Captain Chen activated a holographic display that filled the conference room. But this was no ordinary hologram. It had depth, texture, and detail that made it indistinguishable from reality. What you're about to see, Chen explained, is why we chose to hide our true capabilities from the galaxy. The display showed thousands of points of light scattered throughout the Milky Way. Each of these marks represents one of our dimensional pocket facilities, research stations, shipyards, entire fleets, all hidden just slightly out of phase with normal space. A crystalline Confederation scientist named Lix leaned forward, their faceted form refracting the hologram's light. Impossible. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical using your current understanding of physics, Chen finished. We discovered something 300 years ago that changed everything. She gestured, and the hologram shifted to show what appeared to be an ancient derelict ship, its design unlike anything the Confederation had ever encountered. We call them the precursors, Chen continued. Their ship appeared in our system, severely damaged, barely holding together. Inside, we found no bodies, no signs of life. Just a vast database and technology that operated on principles we'd never imagined. While most species were looking outward to the stars, we looked inward, to the very fabric of space-time itself. The hologram changed again, showing human ships seemingly melting into nothingness. We learned to create spaces between spaces, pockets of reality that exist alongside but separate from normal space, perfect for hiding an advanced civilization from prying eyes. But why? Vexthor asked, his scales shifting colors with emotion. Why hide your achievements? The Confederation could have helped you develop this technology, shared it among all species. Chen's expression hardened. Could have. Would have? Your first act upon discovering what you thought was a primitive civilization was to attempt to force our integration into your Confederation. No negotiation, no real choice. Submit or be isolated. Why would we trust such an organization with technology that could reshape the galaxy? The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans hadn't been hiding out of fear or weakness, but out of choice, and perhaps wisdom. Our Ghost Fleet, Chen continued, is just one part of our defensive capabilities. We've spent centuries preparing, developing technologies that most species haven't even theorized yet. We can fold space, manipulate gravity as easily as you manipulate light, and move entire planets if necessary. And we've hidden it all, watching, waiting to see how the galaxy's civilizations would develop. She paused, letting her words sink in. But now we've revealed ourselves, And you're probably wondering why. The answer is simple. We no longer have a choice. There's something coming, something that makes our little confrontation look like a children's game. The hologram shifted one final time, showing what appeared to be empty space. But as they watched, strange distortions began to appear, like ripples in reality itself. 3 weeks ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected these anomalies. At first, we thought it was a malfunction. Then we compared the readings to information in the precursor database. Chen's voice grew grim. What we found terrified us. Vexthor felt his scales pale. What are we looking at, Captain? The reason the precursor's ship was damaged. The reason they left their database as a warning. There's something out there that hunts advanced civilizations, Admiral. Something that even the precursors, with all their power, couldn't defeat. And it's headed straight for our galaxy. The Confederation representatives exchanged worried glances. Their mighty civilization, which had thought itself the pinnacle of advancement, was suddenly faced with the realization that they might be hopelessly outmatched, not just by humanity, but by whatever threat was approaching. That's why we revealed ourselves now, Chen said softly. Because facing what's coming, we're going to need every species, every civilization, every scrap of knowledge and technology we can muster. The Ghost Fleet isn't just humanity's defense force anymore. It's going to be the foundation of our galaxy's survival. As if to emphasize her point, space itself seemed to ripple outside the Chimera's windows as more human ships emerged from their dimensional pockets, each one a masterpiece of impossible engineering. The message was clear. Humanity had been preparing for war on a scale the Confederation had never imagined. And now that war was coming to them all. The warning. The Chimera's central command deck had been transformed into a war room. Representatives from 20 different Confederation species crowded around a massive holographic display, watching as Captain Chen revealed humanity's darkest discovery. We call them the Void Dancers, Chen said, manipulating the hologram to show massive, geometrically perfect structures moving through the darkness between galaxies. The precursors encountered them 1,000,000 years ago. They're not organic, not mechanical in any way we understand. They're something else. The structures in the hologram were beautiful in their alienness, crystalline lattices that seemed to fold through dimensions that shouldn't exist, trailing whispers of dark energy behind them like cosmic silk. But their beauty belied their purpose. They consume civilizations, Chen continued, her voice tight. Not just destroy, consume. They absorb technology, knowledge, even the fundamental patterns of thought and culture. Everything that makes a species unique becomes part of their collective consciousness. The precursors called them entropy made manifest, the ultimate endpoint of technological evolution. Lix, the crystalline scientist, chimed in distress. Our long-range sensors have never detected anything like this. How can you be certain? Because your sensors aren't designed to look where they hide, interrupted Dr. James Patel, humanity's leading expert on precursor technology. The older man stepped forward, his dark eyes intense. The Void Dancers exist partially outside normal spacetime. It's why we were able to detect them first. Our dimensional pocket technology operates on similar principles. He gestured, and the hologram zoomed in on one of the structures. It was massive, easily the size of a solar system. They're coming because they felt us using the technology. Like attracts like. Every time we opened a dimensional pocket, every time we folded space or manipulated reality, we were sending ripples through the void. Ripples they could feel. High Admiral Vexthor's scales had turned ash-gray. You're saying humanity's advancement is what drew them here? No, Chen replied firmly. They were always coming. They cycle through galaxies on a regular pattern. The precursors mapped it. We just got their attention sooner than expected, made ourselves a priority target. The hologram shifted again, showing a timeline. We estimate we have 8 months before their vanguard reaches the outer rim of our galaxy. The main fleet will arrive 3 months after that. She paused, letting the information sink in. If we don't stop them, they will systematically harvest every advanced civilization in the Milky Way, starting with Earth and the Confederation core worlds. How do we fight something like this? Asked a Confederation military advisor, their tentacles writhing in agitation. If the precursors couldn't defeat them, the precursors fought alone. Dr. Pidal interrupted. They were the only advanced civilization in their galaxy at the time. But we're not alone. We have something they didn't: diversity. Different species, different ways of thinking, different approaches to technology and warfare. Chen nodded. That's why we reveal ourselves now. Humanity's ghost fleet is advanced, yes, but we're just one species with one way of thinking. To have any hope of survival, we need to combine our knowledge, our technologies, our strategies. Every species has something unique to contribute. She turned to face the assembled representatives directly. We've spent centuries hiding our capabilities because we weren't sure we could trust other civilizations with this level of technology. Now we don't have a choice. We're going to share everything we know, all our advancements, all our discoveries, even the precursor database itself. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. What humanity was offering would completely reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. But Chen wasn't finished. In return, we need your cooperation. Complete and absolute. No political games, no power plays, no holding back information that could be crucial. The Void Dancers don't care about our differences or our politics. To them, we're all just patterns to be absorbed, knowledge to be consumed. Dr. Pidal stepped forward again, activating a secondary hologram that showed technical schematics. We've already begun adapting our dimensional pocket technology to be compatible with Confederation ships. Within 2 months, we can have your entire fleet upgraded with basic reality manipulation capabilities. But that's just the start. The schematics expanded, showing impossible weapons and defensive systems. We need to combine these advances with your own technologies. Find combinations and applications we never thought of. The Void Dancers evolve by absorbing new patterns of thought and technology. So we need to create something they've never seen before, something unpredictable. High Admiral Vexthor rose from his seat, his scales now showing the deep blue of decisive action. You'll have it. The full resources of the Confederation, every scientist, every engineer, every warrior. Whatever you need. Chen smiled, but there was no joy in it. Only grim determination. Good, because we're about to attempt something that's never been done before in the history of this galaxy. We're going to unite every spacefaring civilization under a single banner, combine technologies that were never meant to work together, and create weapons that break the laws of physics themselves. She looked out the Chimera's window at the assembled fleets. Human ships of impossible design next to the more conventional but still mighty vessels of the Confederation. And then we're going to do something even more impossible. We're going to make the Void Dancers regret ever hearing of humanity or the Milky Way. As if in response to her words, space rippled around them as more ghost fleet vessels emerged from their dimensional pockets, each one a testament to humanity's centuries of secret preparation. The war for survival was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. United we stand. The massive shipyard hanging in orbit around Jupiter was a testament to what could be accomplished when species work together. Ships of every design and origin floated in perfect formation as they underwent radical transformations. Confederation vessels were being fitted with human dimensional technology, while Ghost Fleet ships were being enhanced with crystalline computing cores and bioorganic sensor arrays. Dr. Elena Santos stood at the observation deck of the command station, watching the controlled chaos with a mixture of pride and anxiety. As humanity's chief liaison for technological integration, she had spent the last 3 months overseeing the greatest engineering collaboration in galactic history. The Helix-class destroyers are responding well to the reality manipulation drives, reported Zix, the crystalline being's facets gleaming with excitement. Our crystal matrices seem to naturally amplify the dimensional effects. Elena nodded, making notes on her holographic display. That's something we never considered. Your species' natural resonance with quantum fields is opening up possibilities we never imagined. The successes were vital because time was running out. Long-range sensors showed the void dancers approaching right on schedule, their massive forms distorting space itself as they moved. Every day brought them closer, and every day saw new breakthroughs in the integration of technologies. Incoming transmission from the Martian testing grounds, announced the station's eye. A new hologram appeared, showing High Admiral Vexthor alongside General Sarah Chen, who had been promoted after first contact. The prototype was successful, Chen reported, her face tight with controlled excitement. The combined human Confederation weapon system actually worked. We managed to create a localized pocket of altered spacetime and collapse it. Elena leaned forward. What was the yield? The equivalent of a small sun going nova, Vexthor answered, his scales shimmering with awe, but completely contained within the pocket dimension. No collateral damage to surrounding space. This was what they had been working toward. Weapons that could actually harm beings that existed partially outside normal spacetime. By combining human dimensional technology with Confederation energy manipulation and crystalline focusing arrays, they had created something entirely new. But not everyone was celebrating these advances. A delegation of Confederation ethical oversight officers had arrived at the station, led by the mechanical entity known as Logic Prime. These weapons represent a fundamental alteration of reality itself. Logic Prime stated, its chrome surface reflecting the starlight. The potential for misuse is less important than extinction, interrupted Raxthor, Vexthor's younger sister and head of Confederation Special Operations. We're not just fighting for survival, we're fighting for the right to exist as ourselves. The Void Dancers don't just kill, they absorb. Everything we are, everything we've built, every story and song and dream. It all becomes just another pattern in their collective. Elena held up her hand for silence as a new alert flashed across her display. We're picking up something from the deep space arrays. The Void Dancers, they're accelerating. The room fell silent as new data poured in. The enemy had somehow detected their preparations and was responding. The massive crystalline structures were moving faster now, warping space around them in ways that defied analysis. They're adapting already, Chen's hologram said grimly. They can sense what we're building. Good, Elena replied, surprising everyone. Because we're about to show them something they've never seen before. She brought up a new set of schematics, displaying a project that had been developed in absolute secrecy. Project Synthesis, she announced. The ultimate integration of all our technologies. We're not just combining our weapons or our defenses, we're combining our consciousness itself. The schematics showed a network of interconnected systems, linking human dimensional technology, crystalline computing, Confederation bioorganic interfaces, and dozens of other species' unique innovations. The Void Dancers absorb civilizations one at a time, integrating them into their collective, Elena explained. But we're going to beat them to it. We're creating a voluntary collective consciousness, a way for all our species to think and act as one while maintaining our individual identities. Logic Prime's lights flickered in what might have been surprise. The processing requirements alone would be impossible using any one species' technology, Elena finished. But together, we can create a neural network that exists in normal space and in dimensional pockets simultaneously. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon system linked in ways the Void Dancers have never encountered. General Chen's hologram smiled. They evolved by absorbing civilizations that fought alone. Let's show them what happens when we fight together. The shipyard outside the window seemed to pulse with new purpose as the assembled vessels began powering up their enhanced systems. Humanity had hidden their true capabilities for centuries, preparing for a threat they knew would come. The Confederation had built the largest civilization in galactic history. Now together, they were about to attempt something unprecedented, the voluntary merging of dozens of species' consciousness and technology into something entirely new. As Elena watched, a test signal pulsed through the prototype network. For just a moment, she felt the thoughts and emotions of 1,000 different beings: human, crystalline, mechanical, organic, and more. All different, all unique, but all united in purpose. The Void Dancers thought they were coming to absorb another isolated civilization. Instead, they were about to face something they had never encountered in their million-year history: a galaxy that had chosen to unite itself first. The final test. The edge of the Oort cloud marked humanity's first line of defense. Thousands of ships waited in formation, their crews linked through Project Synthesis into a single, unified consciousness that spanned normal space and dimensional pockets simultaneously. At the center of the fleet, the Chimera had been transformed into something that barely resembled a ship anymore. It was now the focal point of the greatest technological convergence in galactic history. General Chen stood on the bridge, but she wasn't just seeing through her own eyes. Through Project Synthesis, she experienced the perspective of every ship commander, every gunner, every sensor operator in the fleet. Human, Confederation, and dozens of other species' thoughts flowed through her mind like a river of consciousness. Contact, announced 1,000 voices at once, the thought echoing through the collective consciousness. Void Dancer Vanguard emerging from deep space. They appeared like a nightmare made real, massive crystalline structures that seemed to fold through impossible dimensions, trailing streams of dark energy behind them. The leading edge of the Vanguard alone was larger than Earth's entire solar system, its surface covered in patterns that hurt the mind to look at. All ships, Chen commanded, her thoughts carrying through the network. Initiate Phase 1. The unified fleet began to move, but not like any fleet in history had moved before. Ships didn't just change position. They shifted through dimensional pockets, appearing and disappearing in patterns that had been calculated by the combined processing power of 1,000,000 crystalline computers. The Void Dancers responded immediately, their massive forms beginning to pulse with energy that bent reality itself. But something was wrong. For the first time in their million-year history, they couldn't predict where their prey would appear. "They're trying to adapt," reported Dr. Elena Santos through the network from her position at Jupiter Command. "Their consciousness is attempting to absorb our pattern. But we're not giving them a single pattern to absorb," finished High Admiral Vexthor, his thoughts merging seamlessly with the others. "We're giving them thousands, all working in perfect harmony." The first exchange of fire was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Void Dancers released waves of energy designed to unravel the very fabric of space-time. But the unified fleet was ready. Confederation shields, enhanced by human dimensional technology and focused through crystalline arrays, didn't just block the attacks. They caught them, channeled them, and redirected them through pocket dimensions. Phase 2, Chen ordered, and the fleet's response was instantaneous. The prototype weapons they had developed began to fire, reality-collapsing torpedoes guided by mechanical precision, dimensional charges attuned to crystalline frequencies, and weapons that defied classification all struck at once. The Void Dancer's outer layer, which had survived millions of years of warfare, began to crack. But the ancient entities weren't easily defeated. The damaged sections of their structure began to repair themselves, adapting to the attacks. Waves of counterattacks lashed out, more focused now, trying to disrupt the unity of the fleet's consciousness. "They're learning," warned Logic Prime through the network, "attempting to create division in our collective thoughts." "Let them try," Chen responded, her confidence flowing through the link to steady the others. "Show them what real unity looks like." The next attack from the fleet didn't come from their weapons. Instead, they launched something the Void Dancers had never encountered: a combined consciousness attack. Human intuition, crystalline precision, mechanical logic, and the unique thought patterns of dozens of species all focused into a single mental burst. For the first time in their ancient history, the Void Dancers hesitated. They had evolved by absorbing civilizations one at a time, integrating each species' unique patterns into their collective. But this was different. The consciousness they faced wasn't just unified, it was synergistic. Each species' thoughts enhanced the others in ways that created something entirely new. Final phase. Chen commanded, and the entire fleet moved as one. The Chimera led the charge, its enhanced systems channeling the combined power of the unified fleet. Space itself seemed to tear open as they activated their ultimate weapon, a device that used the Void Dancers' own dimensional manipulation against them. The massive crystalline structures began to fragment, their perfect geometric patterns disrupting as they were forced fully into normal space-time. Without their ability to exist partially outside reality, they were vulnerable. Together, Chen thought, and the word echoed through every mind in the fleet. Fire. The combined attack that followed wasn't just a display of military might. It was a statement of unity. Every ship, every weapon, every mind focused on a single purpose: the Void Dancers' vanguard, which had survived millions of years of conflict, began to break apart. As the ancient entities retreated, leaving behind fragments of their crystalline structure, a new thought passed through the collective consciousness of the fleet. Not of victory, but of understanding. They had proved that the galaxy's greatest strength wasn't in technology or weapons, but in its diversity, in the ability of different species to work together, to combine their unique perspectives and abilities into something greater than the sum of its parts. The Void Dancers would return. Their main fleet was still approaching, but now the galaxy was ready, united not by force or fear, but by choice and understanding. Humanity had hidden their true capabilities for centuries, preparing for this moment. The Confederation had built the foundations of cooperation between species. Together, they had created something the Void Dancers could never absorb or defeat. True unity born of diversity. As the fleet regrouped, Chen sent a final thought through the network. This was just the beginning. Let them come. We'll show them that the patterns of life and consciousness in this galaxy aren't theirs to collect. We belong to ourselves, and together, we are stronger than they could ever imagine. The assembled ships pulsed with energy and response, their combined consciousness already preparing for the greater battle to come. The galaxy was no longer a collection of separate civilizations. It was a unified force, ready to defend its right to exist in all its beautiful, chaotic diversity.